You're listening to Careers and Cocktails, career talk with a twist, hosted by expert recruiter Renee Frey. Let's get this party started.
Well, offensive line. We need an offensive line.
For the last 5 years, we've needed.
Agreed. So fix it.
Okay, that's my dream job. Secretly,
I'm gonna
offensive coordinator for the Vikings.
Hey, party people. Welcome back to Careers and Cocktails. Today we have the lovely Mary Prevost with us. And I'm going to share a little bit about why she's so spectacular, and then we'll jump into this glorious bottle of Pinot Noir. Mary has been empowering brands and inspiring people to think differently. This is how Mary Prevost has approached her 16 years of work in the public relations industry. Nurturing meaningful relationships is key to Mary's success, from internal executives and colleagues to external target audiences and media. Her vast experience spans both agency and client-side work. She's helped clients of all sizes, from Fortune 500 companies to startups and nonprofits. Her specialties include both B2B and B2C strategic communication, content marketing, media relations, writing, social media planning and execution, crisis communication, brand development, event planning, and internal communications and team building. That is a mouthful.
I would have shortened it for you. Sorry.
That's okay. She previously worked as a director of communications at Cheyenne Regional Medical Center in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and then transitioned into agency work as an account supervisor at an agency in downtown Minneapolis. In 2014, she founded MJP Strategic Communications to provide independent public relations consulting services. And in 2019, she founded Prevost Partners with her husband to broaden their services. She graduated with an MBA from Augsburg College in Minneapolis, a Bachelor of Arts in Mass Communications with an emphasis on public relations and news editorial from Colorado Mesa University in Grand Junction. That's where my father-in-law lives, ironically. Yay. And an associate's in radio, TV broadcasting from Central Wyoming College in Riverton, Wyoming. I had no idea. Are you from Wyoming?
Yes.
I had no idea.
I am a total transplant to Minnesota.
And you know what they say about the Twin Cities? Once you move to Minnesota, you never leave.
Yeah. Well, so I'm kind of a gypsy at heart. Like, I have a go bag. I could go at any time.
Really?
And so it's my husband who really has anchored us here. And now our jobs are very flexible, so we could really be anywhere. But our kids are in school, so
sure.
And we love it here. I can't believe we've been here for more than 10 years. So
wow.
We aren't tourists anymore.
Right. I love it that you say you're a gypsy. So let's crack into the wine. And I have this fun glass marker, so I'm going to write my name. When you have parties, instead of having the wine markers, which I have an army of those, yes. You can use these markers. They're super cool and super fun. I did use my real name. I guess we could have been a little more fun, but so we're going to crack open. This is Mary's favorite Pinot Noir, and that is a La Crema from Sonoma Coast. And she knows a lot about this company. I love Pinot Noir. It's a awesome, smooth, drinkable Pinot, and La Crema is one of our go-tos in our household. And I'm opening the bottle with what's called a Houdini. So I used to have an elephant opener, and I broke it with my awesome muscles. But anyway, you just stick this over the top, you push it down, pull it up, and it's done.
Wow. No broken corks.
No.
Love it.
And it's super easy. My kids could do it. Your kids could too.
Summer job. Thank you.
So tell us about this Pinot Noir because you know
Yeah.
so much about it.
So several years ago, an organization that I belong to held a wine tasting and brought in representatives from Kendall Jackson, who is the maker behind La Crema, and they talked about how they're a very forward-thinking organization. And what I loved about their story is they're propping up women in the winemaking industry.
I love that too.
Yes, and they are devoting time and energy and resources and financial support to increase the educational opportunities at the universities in California, specifically for sustainability efforts and making sure that women have a place in the industry.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
I love hearing
Yes,
that.
so
So
cheers.
what can we celebrate for you this week,
Well,
Mary?
thank you for asking, because this week is the 5-year mark of the agency that I used to work for eliminating my position shortly after my second maternity leave.
Oh, let's talk. Well, cheers.
So,
Cheers to that, but tell me,
Yes.
you have to explain this.
So we are celebrating parents, moms and dads, who have to make a decision, and it's a tough decision. Do you raise your family, or do you chase your career goals?
Right.
Because in this world that we live in, you can't have it all. You can lean in as much as you want, and you just fall over. You can't have it all.
I know. I do like to think I can have it all.
Yes. So we're celebrating moms and dads. We're celebrating companies who get it. They understand that flexibility is needed in the workforce. They understand that whether you're a mom or a dad, you're a parent and you need flexibility.
Absolutely.
Your kids are sick, you may need to take them to school, things change, and you need that flexibility.
Absolutely.
And anymore, productivity is not measured by you being behind your computer. You can be surfing the internet behind your computer at a job and not getting anything done.
Absolutely.
So flexibility in the workforce, whether it's time of day that you work, for parents it might be a little different. Whether it's location for working parents, it might mean some at-home times. But we're celebrating the companies who truly understand that and are making the workplace a meaningful place for parents.
I love it. I'm the same way. I'll never forget when I worked at Target Corporation, the CIO at the time, Beth Jacob, had sent out an email and said, do not think of people as, don't come in and say, oh, they're here from 8 to 5. Don't be clock watchers.
Yep.
Talk about the contributions they make to the company. And interestingly enough, I had a colleague there who was an executive recruiter as well. And I'll never forget, one day I was leaving and it was about 5 o'clock at the time. And she said, gosh, I wish I could work as hard as you guys do. You guys work so much faster. And she admitted, it takes me a little longer to do what some of you guys can do in a shorter period of time. And I think embracing the fact that we're all working adults will drive productivity, because when you give your team that flexibility, the productivity goes up. They want to work harder for you.
Exactly. I work harder in my home office than I probably ever did in a regular office situation. And that's it's not for everybody. Working from home is not for everybody, but it happens to work in my situation. Now, there are problems with that sometimes, because when your office is a short few feet away from the rest of your living space, you think, I can just pop down and do this one thing really fast.
Right.
And before you know it, really fast turns into 3 hours, and you've missed a lot of life.
Exactly.
that you normally wouldn't have if you're reporting to an office.
Exactly.
Yes.
So how did we meet? Do you remember how we met?
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Team Women.
I love Team Women.
We were at a Team Women event, and Team Women is fantastic. And that was actually the first time, my first event with Team Women.
Are you kidding? And now you're on the board.
Yes. Thanks to you.
What? Seriously?
Well, you made such a great impact on me. It was such a good... I always describe that day, that event, as the room was electric.
Oh, it was.
Everywhere I turned, there was another interesting person to talk to.
Yes.
And you were one. And it just made me feel welcome and have an enormous sense of belonging. And that's what I hope to replicate for so many other women who come to Team Women events.
Yeah, and when I started my business almost 5 years ago, I was in my basement, and I still needed to connect with people. And so I was constantly looking for the right networking group. And when I found Team Women, I was blown away. People are there to network. They're there to support one another. To me, my favorite group by far. It was incredible.
And now they've expanded. So
that's what I've heard.
Now they have, they've brought into the fold Empower Leadership Academy for Girls. And it is a fantastic program. Yes, so they are targeting girls in grades 7 through 12.
So
and taking them through leadership academies so they can gain confidence and be empowered. And so Team Women is really taking women from the classroom to the boardroom.
That's perfect.
It's powerful.
That's so perfect because if I could give any ounce of my confidence to other young ladies or men for that matter, I would totally do it. If I had a superpower, that's what it would be. I would grant everyone instant confidence because there's so many people that need it. Awesome. Explain. So I'm a kindergartner, speaking of school. I'm sitting in my little desk. Tell me what you do for a living, Mary.
So PR always gets a bad rap for not being able to
I think it's
fully
sexy.
But people don't understand what we do. So do you spin things? And spin is a horrible word in the PR industry. And now there's talk about fake news, which we all know is not fake in the PR industry. But as a kindergartner, what I do, you're reading the news, you're watching TV, you're seeing elements of a corporation that appears on your social channels. I help tell their stories.
Got it.
So I help companies and businesses tell their story. Share their story, I should say, because it's about two-way communication. You don't just want to shout from the rooftops what you're doing. You also want to listen to your audiences and then meet their needs. But I help people tell their story.
I love it. And what did you want to be when you grew up?
Well, I started wanting to be a flower arranger.
Awesome. One of my other guests wanted to be a florist too.
It definitely pays the bills, I'm sure. And to this day, I could get immersed in a flower shop.
So do you go to the Art and Bloom at the Mia? And
no, the farmer's market.
Okay.
And I try to do my own arrangements, and I'm not good. So I would not have made it in this career. But then I transitioned. Good thing I did not pursue that. My dream job was White House press secretary.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Like in the
that would be
not now.
Right.
Not now. We've abandoned that idea. But I sat in on a press briefing when I was an intern in DC and absolutely loved it. Are you a West Wing fan?
No, I have never seen it.
I watched that show religiously. That was the only show that I would turn off the ringer on my phone so I wouldn't be disturbed.
Wow.
Because if you miss a moment, you're done. CJ Craig is the character on West Wing that I loved everything about her. Now, in this day, it's more like Olivia Pope on Scandal. Kind of. It's still a little stretch, but anyway, that's what I dreamed of.
Awesome. I love it. So do you have any funny or unforgettable experiences when it relates to interviewing or trying to land the job?
Yeah. So I have one experience of my own. I have a couple. Can I tell a couple stories?
Yeah, you can tell as many as you want.
I'm a storyteller.
I got my wine. I'm ready.
I'm going to take a drink. Okay, so one in particular. I was early in my career, a year and a half into my career, and the job of director of the communications department at the hospital I was working at came open. And I thought, I am not fit to be a director. I'm young. What do I know about being a director?
Sure.
But I had a lot of great ideas. And if you know me, I am not afraid to tell you my ideas. I wanted to start a blog called Unsolicited Advice because I feel like I give a lot of it.
You should still do it. It's never too late.
Right. Follow my dreams. So I saw this job position open and I thought, no, it's not for me. But I look forward to learning a lot from the new director.
Sure.
So we went through one round of interviews. Nobody really stuck. Then the CEO of the hospital visits me in my office. Who knew that he even knew where my office was? But he came to my office and he said, have you thought about applying for this position? And I laughed at him. And I said, no, it's not for me. I'm 23 years old. I'm not director material at this point. But
Clearly,
again,
they saw something in you that you didn't even see.
Confidence, like you said, superpower. I needed the confidence. And so basically, it was a standoff between me and the CEO, and me saying nope, and him saying, yep, think about it. And finally, he got a little stern with me, and he said, just put in your resume, okay?
Yeah.
Just
because if you don't, that might be career suicide, Mary.
Right. So after I went toe-to-toe with the CEO, I did go ahead and submit my name, went through several rounds of interviews, and it was a long process, and I got the job.
Cheers to that.
Yes. So
Director who didn't think she was a director.
I know, and at 23, 24, probably, by the time I was hired, who knew? And I loved it, and I should have let the inhibition go and just say, what if I fail? It's okay.
Right.
I can try again.
Is that what it was, the fear of failure holding you back, or what do you think?
I thought I was too young, but age is just a number.
No kidding.
So,
no kidding.
That's one. So my other one, fear of failure.
Share them all.
I was 1 week into my new job here. I had just moved to Minneapolis, and the time change. No, I'm sorry. It wasn't about the time change. I had a clock that automatically set the time for you. You don't have to do a thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, how do you know if you're on daylight savings time or not? Like, there's that on or off on those clocks.
Because we live in the zone that they do change time, which drives me crazy.
I don't know if it's an on or if it's an off. So my clock connected, but it was an hour behind.
Oh, no.
Or ahead, which would it be? I woke up an hour late, and it was my first week on the job, and I panicked.
That's like the feeling I got when I overslept for one of my exams in college.
Yes.
I was like you're about to die.
Yes, like they're going to fire you right there. And no, of course that wasn't the case. But then,
oh my God, how embarrassing.
And how embarrassing to blame it on a clock that sets itself. And that's really what it was after. And there are so many other clocks. We have phones, we have watches. Like, come on. It shouldn't have all been about the clock. But anyway, then I was interviewing somebody. And this young woman who wanted, I believe it was an intern job. And this is what not to do.
Yes, we want to know what not to do.
She showed up with a skirt far too short for the chair she was sitting in. Mm. She had a big gulp from the convenience store.
Seriously?
Yes, that she kept slurping. Mm-hmm.
She brought her own beverage.
She did bring her own beverage, yes. And it was not water. In fact, we wondered if there was a mix in it because that's the way the conversation was rolling. And then there was a panel of us interviewing her. She called one of us by the wrong name. And then when she realized it, she dropped the F-bomb.
Oh my God. Okay.
So don't do that.
Yeah. Tip number 1. When you look in the mirror and you're ready, you think you're hot and you're ready to go clubbing, go change your clothes.
Do the fingertip test.
Oh, fingertip test. Your arms down by your side for the ladies. Your skirt needs to be longer than your fingertips can reach. And don't swear in an interview, even if I've had sometimes where candidates are in an interview where the interviewers swear, and I always say, you never swear back.
Sure.
They might be testing you.
Yeah.
And don't let your guard down. Or when people start to get really casual with you, do not let your guard down, because that's what they want you to do to find out, how far will this person go, or how casual will they get.
That's good.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. So I'm assuming she didn't get hired.
She did not, no.
And did you cut the I'm curious, from your side of the table, did you guys cut the interview short?
Well, in a way, she was supposed to interview with several people in the organization, and we cut it short the higher up she went, because we said we don't want to waste anybody's time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you said, oh, something's came up. Your interviews are over now. We'll reach out to you later.
Yes.
So how did you get into public relations?
Well, my mom is a visionary, and she knew that I was destined to do something in news. And she's told me stories, and I do not remember this, but I believe her, that I would read the newspaper when I was younger, like probably elementary, middle school. And she asked me what I was doing, and I said, I'm checking the news to make sure the circus isn't in town, and you didn't tell me.
Oh, that's funny.
I don't even remember going to a circus.
Funny.
Let alone really wanting to be in attendance.
Well, and what elementary school age kid reads the newspaper.
I don't know. I was saucy, I guess, because that surprised me. But anyway, I love the news. In high school, I was the one that my friends made fun of because I knew every current event that was going on. And I would always say, like, don't you care? And no, nobody cares except me. So she pushed me to go into radio, TV broadcasting because she saw that there was something there. And then I wanted to transition out of that and do more the business side of the industry.
Got it.
So I was fortunate enough to have an outstanding professor. And he, if it wasn't for his guidance and his instruction, I probably wouldn't have taken to it as well as I did because he just had such a command of the industry and really made an impact on me.
I love that. He flamed your fire for you to keep going.
Yes.
So I have to ask, Mary, have you worked with any famous people?
So not directly, but in their own way, because I do a lot of B2B work.
Okay.
And I work with a lot of influencers. So they're not influencers to you or me, but in their industry, they're a big name and a big deal. And influencer marketing is all the rage now in social media. Oh my gosh,
I know. It's incredible.
Yep. So they are a big deal, but in their own little niche, they're a big deal.
Got it.
Yeah.
And I imagine you have a lot to add about personal branding and networking. Do you have any tips for job seekers and hiring leaders who want to enhance their current situation?
Yeah, get on your LinkedIn profile. Dust that baby off and make sure that you are showing off your skills.
Sure.
So that goes for the images that you have on your profile. Do you have a professional headshot? Mm-hmm. Do you have the header image up at the top that is something other than the standard blue that everyone has?
Right.
Are you showcasing your abilities? This is your way to brag about yourself.
Absolutely.
And make sure you're doing it. Keyword search is big in LinkedIn. So where on your LinkedIn profile where it says what your title is, you don't have to put your actual title. You put what you want to be searched for.
Absolutely.
Because that's the first part of the crawlers that find those keywords. The summary, make sure that you are completely filling out your summary. A lot of us skim over that, but that is an essential part of your LinkedIn profile.
I agree.
And I do not be afraid to go out and ask for connections. If you met somebody, if you would have their business card, you should also be connected on LinkedIn. I've made many connections and many meaningful business relationships through LinkedIn.
Absolutely.
I've gained clients through LinkedIn just because they were searching for me without knowing me. They were searching for my services on LinkedIn. Yep. So don't ignore that.
Agreed. And going back to the titling, it's so funny. People think, oh, well, my title at this company is operations manager. That's what has to be on there. No, this is your personal representation of who you want to be and who you want to attract.
Exactly.
So that's great.
Yep.
Great tips. And how do you then establish relationships with the media outlets to get your clients' messaging out?
Yeah,
I'm fascinated by this because I know nothing about it. I've never recruited anyone in PR.
Sure. It's all about building relationships. So how do you make friends? You make friends by getting to know them, by listening to them, and by talking very little about yourself, actually.
Right.
You're establishing a relationship. And the same thing happens with media. So you need to, media representatives absolutely dislike when PR people just don't do their research and just send something and hope that it sticks. And that's the wrong way to do what we do in our industry. You need to find the specific reporter who is covering your beat or who has written about this industry or this topic in the past. You need to figure out what they have written about so you have an understanding. You are establishing a relationship with them by reaching out to them, not in a cold call way, but actually with the idea that you are going to get to know them better. A lot of conversations used to happen with media representatives at a coffee shop. We'll grab coffee. I've heard somebody say Twitter is the new coffee shop because you can get to know a lot of media through Twitter. Twitter's huge in journalism.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Of course, I prefer face-to-face. So there are a lot of ways.
I love face-to-face.
Yes. So
Twitter, it's it's so vast and there's so much volume that I'm not sure I would know how to direct my efforts.
Right. Well, that's where hashtags come in. You can follow conversation threads through hashtags. You can get to know journalists based on what they are tweeting about, because they're talking about the stories that they're covering or the industries that they're involved in. And trade shows in the B2B world are huge. I conduct a lot of editor briefings at trade shows. Because
fascinating.
I love it.
Tell me about editor briefing. To me, that's a foreign language. What does that mean, Mary?
So at trade shows, there are media outlets who go to the trade show, like a major association trade show.
Sure.
All of the publications are going to be at that association trade show, one would assume. So while they're there, they are open to meeting with public relations professionals and representatives from organizations to hear about newsworthy items that are taking place in
fascinating.
their organization. So that's a way that you can establish meaningful relationships with these editorial teams and have that face-to-face connection.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, and I love conferences for a different reason. I want to go to where the talent is so I can recruit them or where the hiring leaders are to make that personal connection so they understand who I am as well. Yeah. So I love it. And, you know, a lot of our listeners probably can relate to having worked with someone they didn't like. Yeah. Have you experienced that? And as you represent your clients, how do you handle that?
Yeah, we all work with people who are difficult, and we just have different opinions, and you hope that you can at least come to some sort of agreement so you can work toward the common goal. Right. But I think the disconnect occurs when the goals are different. So how can you all align under a common goal if you're both working toward different things? And that gets very difficult. So from a client perspective, when you're a PR consultant, you have to click with your clients.
Sure.
And if you don't, it becomes pretty clear in the process that maybe strategically we aren't really aligned like we think we are. So it kind of works its way out in the wash. But that's why having those conversations up front are key. Driving it around your business goals. What are your business goals? Do we have a clear plan in place so we all know what we're working toward? Because that's where it becomes apparent that there might be a problem.
Absolutely. So you have to make sure you're aligned with the people you're working with. Mm-hmm. And Mary, what's the biggest mistake you've made professionally, and how did you recover?
Yeah, so this one still bothers me to this day. No, it's okay. So I, as director of communications at the hospital in Wyoming, we always had emergency preparedness drills. And I loved them because, back to my dream to be White House press secretary, the news cycle is always moving, and there's always another fire to put out. And even at the hospital, when there was a trauma situation, like we called them mass casualty situations. Now that doesn't mean that it's a mass casualty. Sure. It just meant that the drill that we had been preparing for went into effect, and it was kind of all hands on deck because something major was happening. And it could be a pile up on the interstate because of a winter storm, something as minor as that. It doesn't have to be a catastrophe situation as we think of it. I loved those, and not because of the situation that was unfolding, but because suddenly my role was more important than ever. Because everyone turned to me and said, what do we do? Right. Because media is calling. And that's where I could shine and say, this is what we've prepared for. I know how to handle this. Yep. Trust me. So we were preparing for a drill, and it was an all-hands-on-deck drill. It was the county first responders, the city first responders, the police were bringing a SWAT team in to fake.
This is like a mock up.
Yes, it was total mock. And so there were a small group of us in the hospital who knew that this was a drill. And we kept it quiet on purpose because if you know that a drill's coming, you act differently.
Right. Of course you do. Yeah. We would have them all the time at Target Corp.
Right. Yes. So I was part of that internal team who knew that this was coming. Sure. And I had what I thought was a brilliant idea. Invite the media to do a ride-along. Because The media, I was picturing it as a news director. Like the camera crews are inside the SWAT car or inside the ambulance and then, the doors fly open and they're getting the footage of the crews taking care of this.
Movie theater action.
Yes. And everyone knew what they were going to do. So I wasn't worried about, what if something goes wrong? Because it's a drill.
Sure.
And we learn from mistakes. And that's why we do those drills. And so I got approval from everybody. Everyone loved it. Police department, everybody.
Did the media know it was a mock?
Yes.
Okay.
So then I was building relationships with the media, with the local media, and saying, look, you can come along. Here are the ground rules.
Sure.
You can't say anything in advance, but this is your all access pass, and this is a big deal. Everyone was on board. Except the one employee who went rogue.
Uh-oh.
So there were two items at play. One employee went rogue and said that she experienced extreme trauma as a result of this mock drill. It was a hostage situation, and she was the hostage. Now keep in mind, anytime there's a drill, it is announced over and over and over. In fact, 3 times before the announcement, you hear, this is a drill, this is a drill, this is a drill.
Sure.
And then the regular announcement. We have a code blue. There's a hostage situation. Please act accordingly or, whatever. She knew it was a drill. She was told ahead of time, like minutes before when somebody came into the building, she was told, you are going to be our mock hostage.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take you now. We're going to watch this play out. Now, what happened is her mistakes were exposed prior to this because she was in a hiring position. And this was a big drill that had taken place over the course of 6 months where there were warning signs from one particular applicant who was a fake applicant as part of this drill who did not get the job because he or she wasn't qualified.
Sure.
And then he started threatening.
Sure.
So all signs should have pointed to you need to report this because there is a threatening job applicant 6 months ago who's threatening you and your life. I mean, it was a serious drill. She did not report it, and she realized during that drill her mistakes.
Right.
And again, we learn from our mistakes.
Absolutely.
It wasn't to point at anything.
Yeah.
It was more to raise awareness of if you are feeling endangered at work, do something about it.
Absolutely.
So that was one bad thing that came of all of this. It really wasn't my decision, but we probably didn't help by putting a camera crew there as well. Yeah, and I mean, we got approvals. She had to sign off, so it's not like cameras were in her face or anything like that. Everything was
Isn't
on the
that
up and up.
fascinating, though? She signed off on all this, and then...
She did, yep. Then, on the flip side, the TV reporter, who I had hoped I had a good relationship with, waited until the very end of his TV package to explain it was a drill. So for 2 minutes, people at home...
Oh, no.
Even though the SWAT team had pink guns, I mean, we went to all extremes to make sure that everyone knew this was a drill. So in his video, you can see pink guns that the SWAT team is carrying. You know they're not real.
Right.
Yet it appeared in his TV package that there was mass chaos at the hospital as a result of this hostage situation in which the SWAT team was pulled in. So at the very end, he said, oh, by the way, this is a drill and they do these regularly. And everyone was prepared. Yay. But it was not the optics.
No.
That I had hoped for. So here I was hoping for this huge success, and it all around was a nightmare.
And how did you recover from that?
Well, I still held strong with administration and said, look, everyone was involved. Nothing was a surprise.
Right.
Everyone played by the rules, including media, but I can't tell them how to tell their story. I can't be part of the editing process.
Oh, bummer.
I just hoped for something a little different, but that's must-see TV from their perspective.
Oh, hello.
They got great ratings.
I'm sure they did.
So it worked for everybody, but it's a reminder that you can't control everything. We couldn't control the employee. We couldn't control the media.
Which is interesting you say control, because I always tell everyone the only thing we can control is our reaction to things.
Yeah.
There's nothing else we can control.
And if we stick to the facts in that situation were everyone knew this was a drill. Right. Everyone signed a release form, and everyone had been preparing for this for 6 months. So those are the facts.
That is crazy. And that the employee still was upset about it after she signed the release.
Oh,
unbelievable.
Sad. Yeah.
Mary, you branched off and started your own company twice.
Yeah.
How did you know it was time to do so?
Well, back to that confidence thing. Remember my story from moving to director?
Yeah.
I still did not have the confidence after having a position eliminated and a new baby and thinking, can I do this on my own? And knowing deep down inside, yes, of course I can. And it was really my husband saying, you can do it. And again, what happens if you fail?
Right.
Then we try something else.
Right.
And so I had a non-compete, couldn't go to any existing clients. Did not have a good network of people because I was not as involved in organizations like Team Women and PRSA as I am now. So I just started working my network and turning to LinkedIn and putting my all into building my brand.
Awesome.
And it slowly but surely just develops, and one thing leads to another. And then when you do good work, people want to share your good work.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. Interesting you mentioned non-compete because there's a lot of organizations, a lot of recruiting companies have those, a lot of sales organizations have those. How long was your non-compete period?
1 year.
Okay, that's pretty typical. Sometimes I've heard 2, but interesting. And then what's your why for wanting to do it on your own?
Well, the world is changing. And
every second.
Yes. And the gig economy, which I am kind of a part of, but independent contractors are rising in popularity, and because of not only the flexible work conditions, like I mentioned, parents might need, but also from a budgeting perspective of corporations. You as a corporation might not be able, or as a business, might not be able to afford an agency.
Right.
But you can afford me.
Right.
As an independent contractor, as an independent consultant.
Right.
And I am a senior level consultant. So you know what you're getting.
Absolutely.
I'm not shifting work to somebody else on my team because it's me.
Awesome.
So,
and you get the best.
Yes. So I think that is a lot of the shift in what we're seeing. And so it's tied to budget and it's tied to the work output.
Sure. I love it. And I read that you bring your energy and humor and fun to the companies you partner with, which, of course, I adore. You stood out to me at Team Women. You are fantastic. But I would imagine that might push people out of their comfort zones. And there are a lot of people who are very resistant to change. So how do you encourage them to be on board with the communications or the brand representation you're going to do, and how do you break those barriers down for the people that are change resistant?
Yeah, well, if there's one thing I can do well, it's laugh at myself and just laugh in general. And if we're not having fun, why are we doing it?
I agree.
So that's kind of my baseline. But I'm also a professional, and I can read the room very well. And if a client is not really interested in my humor, then it's not all about me. It's about them.
Sure.
But that doesn't mean that we can't interject some levity into the relationship. But going across, breaking the barriers, again, it's about rallying around that common goal. And right from the get-go, we have to establish what that goal is. And then there's a level of trust that what you've been doing isn't working. So let's try something different. And let's have fun along the way.
I love it. And how has social media affected your business and helped you obtain clients?
Yeah. Social media is taking the world by storm and taking companies by storm, and it's changing every day.
Every day.
I mean, the big joke is that once you get used to a Facebook algorithm, the algorithm changes.
We were just talking about that this morning.
And then you've got to figure it out. You've got to figure it out all over again.
Well, and I've read Google changes their algorithms, I think it's 8 or 12 times a day. I can't keep up with that.
No, it's difficult. But it all boils down to, so there's a phrase in the industry that I love, and I just was part of a webinar. I presented a webinar on content marketing and social media for PRSA, Public Relations Society of America. And what I stressed in this webinar is you wouldn't build a house on rented land
Never.
Right? So you don't want to build your brand on rented property. You don't want to build your business up on something that's not your own property. So what is your own property? Well, that's your website, and that's your e-newsletter. And if you have a book, that's your book subscribers. Those are the things that you own, you control. You don't want to build your business on social media because social media changes.
Right.
Google Plus is no longer with us. If you built your website on Google Plus and figured it's free, it'll work, you're done.
Right.
There's no going back. A lot of small businesses build their brand on Facebook, and they say, I don't want to pay for a website. I have a Facebook page.
Oh, I know. I find that fascinating. Sometimes I go and I'm like, where do I click on the website?
Yep. And that is a big, big problem because Facebook now is in control.
Right.
And Facebook controls everything. And Facebook has said, as a company, if you are not advertising on our properties, then we are going to reduce the number of people who will actually see any of your posts. So there's a mix of, you have to have good content that people want to read, and you also have to pay to advertise on these things too. Paid content, when supported by good content, is the key to social media success.
Got it. Good, valuable advice.
Yeah.
We are chasing it constantly.
Yeah.
Which is why we've upped. So we heard that video is all the rage moving forward. And so that's why we're doing a ton of video. Thank God I don't mind being on film.
Right.
But it's definitely a challenge for me as a business owner is staying on top of all the changes.
But one more thing about social media, and that is you don't have to be everywhere.
Right.
So figure out where your audiences are. We know that Facebook audiences tend to skew older. We know that Instagram audiences might be mid-range. And we know that young kids are on Snapchat. So and we know that LinkedIn is for business and YouTube is for video. So don't feel like you have to be everywhere. You don't have to be everything to everybody. Where is your target audience? Figure out where they get their information and then do your best to emphasize those channels.
Absolutely. That's fantastic advice. And what's the best advice you've ever received, Mary?
It is follow your intuition. What if this is the sign you've been waiting for? Is the sign on your wall? And
Yeah. What if this is the sign you've been? I know. I love these positive posters that we have around the office.
It's true.
Is.
I unfortunately I've learned my lesson now, but I have pursued client relationships that I didn't really feel was going the right way, but I thought, well, I don't want to not try to get this client. And then that client ends up being very bad. We don't line up, or doesn't even pay me after the work has been rendered.
Oh, that's brutal.
Yes, and so I'm kicking myself thinking, why did I pursue you? Because I should have known. Something deep down inside made me pause on that.
Right.
So follow your intuition.
I'm the same too. If we're not aligned from a values perspective, unfortunately, I can't do business with you either. It's the same. Yeah. And how can our listeners find you, Mary? Where would they find you?
The website is prevostpartners.com. Now that's spelled Prevost partners.com. And I'm on LinkedIn and Twitter.
Awesome. What's your Twitter handle?
Mary J. Prevost. Prevost.
Awesome. And thank you so much. I'm so grateful for all the great information you shared. Cheers. And if you have enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and click the bell so you don't miss an update. And for all of you hiring leaders, if you want my free strategy guide on how to hire the best, go to careersandcocktails.com. And all you job seekers who hate your Mondays, you can go to the same website to learn where to purchase my book. I hate Mondays. We've had too much Pinot Noir here. Cheers!
Thank you.